What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Green Bay Packers Report. My name is Joey Peterson. We got a ton to talk about in one specific free agent target that Green Bay could sign, which would be an elite addition to this roster. And then you might be wondering, Joey, how the heck are they going to be able to sign a guy like that? Or, hell, how are they going to be able to sign anybody? Well, that's why I'm going to be here. I'll tell you how Green Bay is going to be able to spend big in free agency, a little bit of money-making moves that they can make over the course of the next couple of months. Thank you so much for being here. Just a reminder, hit that subscribe button. If this is your first time here, welcome. Join us for daily coverage of the Green Bay Packers. One more sub to get to 26,100. So I am sure by now, if you have kept up with the Green Bay Packers over this week or so on social media, a lot of buzz coming around the Pro Bowl, a lot of buzz coming from the Super Bowl week, and a lot of that has to do with one George Pickens, former Dallas Cowboy, who is set to become a free agent in this offseason. And Micah Parsons has been doing a little bit of recruiting. CeeDee Lamb went on with Kay Adams yesterday and said, look, everybody's in my face trying to recruit him as if I'm not standing right next to him. Micah is a little too active to be on a scooter. Green Bay clearly wants him, talking about George Pickens, a little ... there at the end of it. Jordan Love also went on with Kay Adams and said, look, if you can bring in another player, George Pickens, he had a phenomenal year. He's a great player. I would love to have the most talented players on our team at all times, and we'll see. I played basketball with him. I know what type of bounce he's got. George has the same agent as well. We all get together for Elite Week. David Mulgeta brings us all out, and we get together and we do some cool things. So it feels like right now the full court press is on for George Pickens. In fact, it's hilarious to juxtapose these two pictures together that I'm about to show you. Here is Jordan Love on with Kay Adams. This was yesterday, talking about George Pickens, same agent. This was Jordan Love on with Kay Adams about a week before the Micah Parsons trade went down, asking about Micah Parsons being on the Packers. Jordan said, quote, that would be fun. Again, same agent. They're doing their best impressions of college football head coaches, going out there on the road, doing their own recruiting. And hey, last time they kind of did it with Micah Parsons. It worked a little bit. This time they're trying to get a little bit better in the wide receiver room, on the offensive side of the ball, trying their hardest to recruit a pretty awesome wide receiver, a guy who was coming off of his best year in the National Football League, and I think truly showed people, owners, general managers, head coaches, that look, if you put me in a good offense with a really good quarterback, I can be one of the best receivers in the league. But is it even a possibility? I think that's the biggest question you've got to ask. So coming up on today's show, we're going to break down what George Pickens' offseason might look like. We're going to talk franchise tag, Dallas Cowboys extension, all that and more. But real quickly, I want you guys to weigh in for me. Should the Packers sign George Pickens? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Sound off in the comments section down below. So here's Pickens' latest in terms of where he stands with his future at the Dallas Cowboys. Jeremy Fowler spoke with NFL coaches and executives to predict big moves that might happen in free agency. The expectation right now is that Pickens is at least tagged by the Dallas Cowboys. However, the prediction from some NFL insiders is that, quote, the George Pickens situation in Dallas gets sticky. Very similar to how Micah Parsons, that situation, got sticky. Very similar to Dak Prescott the offseason before that. CeeDee Lamb the offseason before that. Ezekiel Elliott back in 2019. Are you getting a theme here with Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys? If they've got big-time players that are set to become free agents, it is very rarely that is a smooth and easy process. Jerry Fowler talks a little bit more, says the Cowboys are expected to franchise tag Pickens, which would pay him around $28 million next season, but Pickens will want a long-term deal above that number. If Dallas doesn't give him that, some around the league wonder whether he stays away from the team for a large portion of the offseason or even training camp. An AFC coach said to ESPN that, look, I just don't see Pickens coming off the season he had welcoming the tag with open arms. If there is one thing that we've known about George Pickens over his tenure in the NFL is that, I don't want to say he could be a head case, but he can be a little bit much sometimes. He had an attitude problem, notably in Pittsburgh, one of the reasons they sent him to Dallas. And a lot of people see the season and the actions he had last year and just kind of expect, look, it was a contract year, probably a good year for him to be on his best behavior. But you can believe that after having a season like he did, I totally agree with whichever AFC coach said this to ESPN, that if they're tagging him and he's getting $28 million, that he's going to be upset about that. Now, us normal people might see the contract of $28 million for a single season and say, why on earth would you be upset about that? But also, us normal people weren't one of the best wide receivers in football last year. Some key dates to keep an eye on. February 17th, so 11 days from today, is when that franchise tag window opens. We'll know shortly after that whether or not they will be franchise tagging George Pickens. March 3rd is when the deadline to franchise tag somebody ends, or franchise tag window deadline, and then July 15th is the franchise tag extension deadline. So lots of things to keep your eye on. Also in there, I believe it's March 9th or March 11th is when free agency officially opens up. 1,400 yards for Pickens this last year. 9 touchdowns, 15.4 yards a catch, almost 100 catches. He was arguably Dallas's best wide receiver. That's very hard to do when you're in the same room with a guy like CeeDee Lamb. Man, he would make this team incredibly special. He would give Jordan Love something Jordan Love hasn't had yet. Matt LaFleur would absolutely drool over the opportunity to use a guy like that in his offense. But since we've discussed money, I guess that's what we got to talk about next. How would they be able to make this happen right now, sitting at negative $3 million in cap space? So coming up on today's show, to round things out, I'm going to tell you what I would do if I were Brian Gutekunst. But what I would do if I were you is head over to Underdog. Check out our awesome sponsor, our great friends, because football's biggest game is right around the corner, and you can get in on all the action with Underdog. Not on Underdog yet? Then you're in luck, because new customers score $75 in fantasy bonus entries when you make your first $5 fantasy entry. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just head to the app, make picks on if a player will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, rushing yards, receptions, and more. If you get them right, you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. Plus, there's new promos dropping daily in the app. So, if you like making picks and winning money, then Underdog is the place to be for the big game. So I'm going to be for the big game because I got this as my lineup higher. Sam Darnold, 1.5 passing touchdowns. The yes on Jackson Smith and Jigba for the first 20-yard reception of the game. And then the higher on Stephon Diggs, 4.5 receptions. What are you waiting for? Download the app today and use promo code Packers Report to score $75 in fantasy bonus entries when you play your first $5 on fantasy. That's promo code Packers Report. Underdog, make picks, win money.
Must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 or older in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/playing-good-terms_DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 helpline at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-367.
It's a very interesting situation for Brian Gutekunst and the Green Bay Packers. Like, this is not a situation I envy in the slightest. Looking at a guy like George Pickens, who your players are openly recruiting to come to Green Bay. And I've got a couple of opinions on the thoughts of adding him. Number one, wide receiver is not your biggest need. That's the first thing I think about, right? Defenses. You need help in the interior of the defensive line. You need help on the edge of the defensive line. You mostly need help in the quarterback room, right? You don't have a CB1 on this roster. You thought maybe you did. You went throughout the season and you found out that neither Keyshawn Nixon or Carrington Valentine are those guys. And the free agent options at cornerback aren't really anything that special. Like, I don't really know if you're going to be able to find one in free agency. So that's my first opinion. A little bit more of the conservative take of, look, man, you don't need wide receiver. But then there's the greed that creeps in, something each and every one of us deal with on a daily basis, that, man, this team would be sick with George Pickens on it. I mean, Matthew Golden, Jaden Reed, George Pickens, Christian Watson. Are you kidding me? Jordan Love would throw for maybe 5,000 yards a season. And, like, you might think of the money aspect of it and think it's impossible. It would not be that crazy of a problem. Now, you would find problems down the road eventually with the money. But, like, being able to pay George Pickens now, you can make that happen easily. Multiple avenues to do that. Real quickly before I talk about that, thanks for catching me on that, JD. You can go ahead and throw that up there. He'd won around $30 million a year, which is fair. I mean, DK Metcalf is at $33 million, and I'm pretty sure that George Pickens doubled DK Metcalf's production for this last season. And I would know because DK Metcalf was on my fantasy team. So let's just set the baseline at $33.5, $34 million. Well, you could cut some guys. That would open up a lot of money. Cutting Rashawn Gary, $19.5 million in savings. Or you can make him post-June first trade. You'd save $19.5. Cutting Elton Jenkins, which they are going to do, would save $19.5. I don't think you cut Josh Jacobs, but if you did, that's $14.5. Keyshawn Nixon, $5 million. Brandon McManus, a quick $1. You could restructure some guys like, Aaron Banks. That would save $10.92. Love would save $7.74. McKinney, $5.97. Hobbs, $4.82. And Jacobs, which probably is the most likely, $4.75. If I were to extend some guys, I would extend these 4 players: McKinney, Wyatt, Love, Watson. All those extensions in totality right there, $28.83 million saved in the salary cap. Okay? So, money, yeah, it seems like an issue right now because you are in the negative in salary cap. But with the NFL, man, it is so easy to manipulate those numbers and clear up money very quickly. My take on it, there are too many holes defensively to go out and spend a lot of money on George Pickens. Okay? I get it. It'd be awesome. The jersey swaps are fun. It's fun to think about the highlights. Feels like this offense would score 60 points a game. But the conservative nature of myself is coming out, and the realistic nature of myself is coming out and saying, look, you got too many needs on the defensive side of the football to spend that much. But it also is one of those situations that if they did end up doing it, man, I would be all in. You would not hear a complaint from me. I promise you that. What's the percent chance that the Green Bay Packers sign George Pickens if he officially gets to free agency? Scale it for me 1 to 100 down below in the comment section. Make sure you are following me on socials, Twitter, Instagram. I'm on both platforms. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Daily videos right here at the Packers.